Hello again, welcome back to the Led Zeppelin Iceberg. This is the third and final part of the iceberg. Now before we begin, I do want to warn all you guys, because this video gets into some pretty heavy topics and possible NSFW topics, especially towards the end, so just beware of any troubling topics that come about. Believe me, there's some very messed up stuff towards the end. Also some funny stuff, but also some messed up stuff too. So the last two tiers of the iceberg are the Live Aid and Lori Maddox tiers. Following this, we'll move on to the other icebergs in the series. Thank you for your positive comments so far. Stay tuned for more videos, and I just want to say thank you guys for all the support. It means a lot. Thank you. So with that, let's get right into the video. Right off the bat, we have the namesake for the fifth tier, Live Aid, or more specifically, Led Zeppelin's reunion at Live Aid. At the Events Philadelphia show, Led Zeppelin reunited for a 20-minute set list performing Rock and Roll, Whole Lotta Love, and Stairway to Heaven. It was billed to be the big performance of the day, but it wound up being a complete mess, with Queen's own Live Aid performance in London unexpectedly outshining them and exceeding everyone's expectations. Due to John Bonham's death, the band chose two drummers to play in his place, Phil Collins of Genesis and Tony Thompson of the Power Station. The band actually liked Tony's drumming enough that they later invited him to rehearse with the band after Live Aid in the hopes of becoming an active band again. But after the first rehearsal, he got hurt in a car accident, which caused the rest of the band to believe that they were cursed and put an end to any permanent reunion efforts, unfortunately for us. Phil Collins, on the other hand, resented the performance, later stating that if he could have walked off stage, he would have. The drumming by both, it suffered due to the lack of proper rehearsal time due to the rushed schedule of Live Aid. Now as for the rest of the band, Robert Plant would later say, "Emotionally, I was eating every word that I had uttered, and I was hoarse. I had done 3 gigs in the Trop before I got to Live Aid. We rehearsed in the afternoon, and by the time I got to stage, my voice was long gone." Indeed, his touring that year negatively affected his voice for the performance. Meanwhile, Jimmy Page's guitars were completely out of tune, and the monitors on the stage malfunctioned, resulting in him making several disastrous mistakes on the stage, such as this. Many fans regarded the union as completely disastrous, but definitely not the worst performance by the band. I think we all know what shows that infamous title belongs to: Indianapolis 1975 and Tempe 1977, as you can hear here. Keith Moon was drummer for The Who and a contemporary to John Bonham. Many rock fans consider both Keith and John to be among the best drummers in music history. It's alleged that Keith Moon actually gave the band its name, which they adopted after unable to use the name the New Yardbirds anymore due to a copyright dispute with the original members of the Yardbirds. In May of 1966, Keith and Who bassist John Entwistle recorded the instrumental Beck's Bolero with Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, and Jeff Beck. The track came out well, and they tossed around the idea of forming a new band. Keith allegedly said the band would go over like a lead balloon, an old British phrase meaning the band would not do very well. Jimmy remembered the joke 2 years later when he renamed the band we all know and love to Led Zeppelin. In 1977, Keith Moon joined the band on stage in Los Angeles for the song Moby Dick. A year later, Keith Moon would tragically die under very similar circumstances to John Bonham, though unlike Led Zeppelin, The Who decided to carry on with a new drummer, Kenny Jones, who had drummed for the band until their first hiatus in 1983. The Who's current drummer is Zach Starkey, a son of Beatles drummer Ringo Starr, who has also worked for Oasis and his father on solo projects. Them Crooked Vultures is an American-British rock band that was formed in 2009, consisting of Josh Homme of the Queens of the Stone Age and Kyuss, Dave Grohl of Nirvana and Foo Fighters, and John Paul Jones. The band began recording in February 2009 and performed its first gig in Chicago on August 9, 2009, followed by a European debut on August 19th. On October 1st, the group embarked on the worldwide Deserve the Future tour, with dates going into 2010. The band's first single, New Fang, was released in October 2009, followed by a self-titled debut album the following month, which would be at number 12 in the Billboard Hot 200. The group would win the 2011 Grammy Awards for Best Hard Rock Performance for New Fang. The group has not been active since 2010, though its members, as well as true member Alan Johannes, have said they do intend on getting back together one day to make a second album. Now this refers to an instrumental song that was recorded for Presence but ultimately shelved until the album was reissued on CD later in the 1990s. Though it was recorded during the same sessions for Presence, the song sounds radically different from the other songs in the album. The song heavily featured John Paul Jones on the piano and is less guitar-driven than the songs in Presence. Now this is yet another unreleased song, this time for the sessions for In Through the Outdoor. Among fans who know of its existence and have heard it, it is well received, and many feel as if it would have made a great addition to In Through the Outdoor and Led Zeppelin's discography in general. Alright, with that out of the way, we're down to the Laurie Maddox tier. Again, this part of the video might cover some very not safe for work topics and very heavy topics, so just be careful and just be aware of that. And we're just going to jump right into one of the most NSFW ones that is probably on here. As mentioned before, this is one of those NSFW topics, by the way. This refers to an alleged sexual encounter involving the eponymous animal mentioned in the title for this entry between it and a groupie. The Zeppelin's members were known for their wild behavior offstage just as much as their music on stage and in their albums, and this alleged incident cemented itself as a prime example of the band at its absolute wildness. Thankfully, this alleged encounter was entirely consensual on the groupie's end, so don't worry folks. So the story goes that while staying at Seattle's Edgewater Inn in July 1969 for the Seattle Pop Festival, members of Led Zeppelin and American rock band Vanilla Fudge and their respective entourages are alleged to have pleasured a willing groupie with a mud shark caught from the local bay. This mud shark was apparently caught by the band's road manager Richard Cole as well as John Bonham. Vanilla Fudge singer Mark Stein supposedly filmed the entire thing on a Super 8 camera. The story was first told by Frank Zappa in 1971 while on stage at the Fillmore East, where he performed an impromptu song called The Mud Shark. It was then retold in the completely unauthorized biographical book of Led Zeppelin, released by Richard Cole, called Hammer of the Gods. However, there's a chance the story is not true at all or may have been exaggerated a bit. As much as Richard Cole's autobiography was dismissed as nonsense by Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones, and Robert Plant recalled that Richard's Cole memory might have been altered by heavy drug use and alcoholism through the years. Also, however, rock musician Carmine Appice alleges the incident did indeed happen, and while he did occasionally use drugs and drank, he was never an addict to any of them, thus making his account of the event more believable because his memory wasn't all screwed up. In 1973, John Paul Jones came this close to outright leaving Led Zeppelin to become a choir master instead, due to the stress of performing and writing songs getting to him mentally and negatively affecting his relationship with his family. Thankfully for us, however, Peter Grant was able to convince John Paul Jones to stay with Led Zeppelin. Many fans speculated that if he did leave around this time, Jimmy Page would have had to hire separate bassists and keyboardists to replace him due to how skilled John Paul was on both instruments. English musician Sandy Denny is the only guest vocalist ever featured on a Led Zeppelin song, contributing vocals to the song Battle of Evermore off of Led Zeppelin 4. Aside from this, she was well known within the English folk rock community and has been described as the preeminent British folk rock singer. Music publications Uncut and Mojo have described Sandy Denny as Britain's finest female singer-songwriter. Sadly, however, she became a severe alcoholic over the years. In 1977, she gave birth to a daughter prematurely as a result. She also began to eventually fall off bar stools and fall down flights of stairs to get attention. In April 1978, one of these self-harm incidents rendered her brain dead when she jumped down a flight of stairs. She would die on April 21st, 1978. Her daughter, Georgia, would thankfully grow up healthy despite being born premature. You saw that right, folks. It took just 18 days to record the entirety of Presence. The rushed recording sessions were in part the result of Led Zeppelin having booked Musicland Studios in Munich, Germany, immediately prior to the Rolling Stones, who would soon after record songs for their album Black and Blue, released the same year. Jimmy Page negotiated with the Rolling Stones to borrow 2 days from their recording session time, during which he completed all the guitar overdubs in one very lengthy session. The final mixes were complete November 27, 1975. This would be the fastest recording session for the band since their self-titled debut album in 1969. Jimmy Page would later say that he worked up to 18 to 20 hours a day mixing and recording the album and often fell asleep in the recording booth alongside sound engineer Keith Harwood, with whoever woke up first immediately continuing work upon doing so. The recording sessions for Presence were also particularly challenging for Robert Plant. Musicland Studios was in the basement of an old hotel, and the singer felt claustrophobic, not to mention the difficulties of accessing the basement due to Robert being in a wheelchair at the time as a result of his car crash in Greece earlier in the year. Oh great, another annoying typo. No, folks, the group's name has never had Led spelt like this. Also, we already talked about how the group got their name from Keith Moon or whatever, so let's just move on, alright? It's never been spelled like L-E-A-D, people. Come on. You guys should know this by now, okay? FBI, open up! Oh boy, this topic. Well, this is, very NSFW. Holy crap, this is very NSFW and very, very heavy. So if you don't like this, you might want to skip this part. I'm just warning you now, okay? Just be warned, okay? So Lori Maddox is a former American child model and baby groupie of the 1970s. She is best known for an interview with Thrillist in 2015, where she made allegations of being involved in sexual relationships with David Bowie, Jimmy Page, and Mick Jagger. Which, that doesn't sound odd at first, obviously, because, groupies in the 70s and whatnot, but the problem is that much of the time spent in relationships would have occurred while she was under the age of 18, around the ages of 14 and 20, and while Bowie, Page, and Jagger were all in their 20s, which is, that's not good. I shouldn't have to explain why that's, not good. Now here's the thing, though. While her claims of being with David Bowie and Mick Jagger are a bit dubious, due to several glaring timeline discrepancies in the way she described it, it was absolutely known that she and Jimmy Page were indeed together in some capacity at one point. According to Rolling Stone, Jimmy went to great lengths to keep the relationship a secret due to the very obvious possibility of being arrested for statutory rape. She claimed that she ended her relationship after she was 16 years old after finding Jimmy in bed with a thankfully above 18 Bebe Buell, after which she got into a bitter argument with both of them and broke up with Jimmy. Some people allege that Lori Maddox is referenced in the song Sick Again, though Robert Plant has since gone on to clarify the lyrics in question are actually about groupies in general that follow the band, which he felt very sorry for. Allegedly, Lori had a relationship with Jimmy again in the 80s when she was then an adult, so thankfully she wasn't a minor at that point. Currently, she runs a successful boutique in Los Angeles and now has a daughter, and views her experiences nowadays in a negative light for obvious reasons. I shouldn't have to explain why. Okay, so this one was actually on the iceberg, but when the fuck am I gonna talk about this anywhere else? Besides, we need something a little funnier to keep after all that we just went through, because, oh my god. So, the story with the Knobs, that in 1969, the heir to the Von Zeppelin estate, Eva Von Zeppelin, openly criticized Led Zeppelin for making money off her family's name. He said that Robert Plant sang like a shrieking monkey. Then, in 1970, things got worse and the band talked to her. They had a nice chat initially, but then on the way out, she saw the cover for Led Zeppelin 1 and got super pissed if the band used a picture of the Hindenburg disaster for the cover. Obviously, as the heir to a family that made their living selling airships to the point their name became synonymous with airships, she was not happy. Fun fact, by the way, Zeppelin is actually still around and they still make airships, with the current Goodyear blooms being manufactured by them, actually. After this, Ava threatened to sue Led Zeppelin for damages to her and her family's reputation. The band, not wanting to take any chances, decided to temporarily rename themselves the Knobs for a single show in Copenhagen on February 28, 1970. John Bonham in particular was amused by the name change and jokingly suggested keeping it due to the penis jokes involved with said name. This would not be the only time the band messed with its own name in merchandise or on tour, as during their first Japanese tour in 1971, the band printed out shirts saying Red Zeppelin, due to a Japanese DJ pronouncing their name as such on stage and on the radio. Alright, with all that, we're done with the Led Zeppelin Iceberg. This has been a wild ride. Thank you guys again for the support. I'm currently making a script for the Tokyo Mew Mew Iceberg, which is not music related, but it's anime related instead. You'll see me do a variety of icebergs over the next couple months. So again, thank you for your support. Stay tuned for more videos, and have a good rest of your day, or night, or morning, whatever it is. Thank you.